there, man. Give me a break.
Wide open. The hell are you doing?
Come on, John.
Kill him! Kill him! Kill him! Let's go! Woo!
Donald Trump! Donald Trump! Donald Trump! Oh my God! The hostile takeover of Donald Trump on Vince McMahon has happened at WrestleMania 23.
Let's go, Brandon.
My name is
Welcome into the Section YY8 podcast, brought to you this week by Aunt Helma's Country Store and Kitchen, located in beautiful Four-Way Inn in the heart of Straw Plains. If you're ever through there, stop in and visit. They're working on limited hours right now, so they're probably going to be closed when you stop by, but at least get your picture made with the sign. Great place. Did you ever meet Aunt Helma back in the day?
I've met everybody that's had a store in there. I think there was Helma's and Helma's 2 and Cancun, and there's been all kinds of great dining establishments at Helma's on Asheville Highway.
I remember Aunt Helma back in the day. She was, owner, waitress there. Great lady. And then Cancun that was there was, I don't know. Me and my dad went one time. It made us sick. It was pretty bad.
Yeah, it wasn't very good.
No, it was bad, but Mexican usually makes you go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
What's going on in Mascot this week?
Man, it's same old. Dogs barking, birds chirping, pillheading.
Strangers walking up and down the street.
Strangers walking up and down the road, pushing a bicycle, stuff like that.
I was in Mascot Sunday, and there's some strangers walking up and down several roads I was on, so that's concerning.
Yeah, they're making their way to Knoxville, I guess.
They're traveling from Johnson City to Knoxville.
Granger County, Johnson City, Rogersville. Go down to Knoxville, get their fix.
Sad.
Man, I was eating lunch yesterday, and I think you saw the video on my Instagram of the guy tripping on acid or whatever. This guy was like arguing with himself, like punching the air. I was sitting there eating lunch, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, what in the world is this guy doing?" And
I think I sent you a message back. There's people talk about a gun problem, a violent. I mean, we've got like a mental health problem in this country right now.
There's a
morality problem.
People just, nobody won't drink a beer anymore. They got to shoot something in their arm or puff something like that. People just can't just sit down and crack open a Miller Lite. They got to go to the extreme, I guess.
You got to get that high, man.
I guess.
What about Crying Ryan Kate blocking us on Twitter yesterday?
Well, he blocked you. He didn't block me.
Well, blocked Section YY8.
Yes. Yeah. I like Ryan. I really do. We've had some good conversations. He's really against guns. I'll say that about him. And I understand he's a dad, got 2 young kids, about to start going to school here soon, and I know his wife is really concerned about it too. Which I get it. You shouldn't have to worry about sending your kids to school and stuff like that, but their opinion just kind of differs from mine about the situation. And I get some of his points where he comes from. There are some things we can do to help improve some of the issues at hand, but
absolutely,
just eliminating guns in general. I mean, the people that disobey the law aren't going to turn their guns.
Bad idea. You know, I don't follow him. We obviously disagree on a lot of things, especially politically. I don't have anything.
It's only politically because you two love the same exact stuff outside of politics.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about it yesterday. I was laughing about it. He didn't think it was funny. He actually texted me and told me to piss off. So
yeah, I texted him too, and I said, "You guys cracked me up." And I was just trying, like, you know, when I said Transformers is better than Star Wars or whatever, I was just trying to, you know, get him to say something. But he texted me separately too, and we had like a 30-minute conversation about.
And I'll say this, I wrote a couple things down just to address it for those who were wondering what was going on. I mean, I used to go to movies all the time with Ryan.
Yeah.
Couple that came to mind, and I know he's not listening, so he won't hear this. Independence Day 2, terrible movie. We both agreed it sucked. Batman versus Superman. I love Batman versus Superman. He hated it. There was like 3 other people with us, and we everybody else loved it except him. So there's like 5 people arguing about a freaking superhero movie on Gay Street on a like late Thursday night. That was weird. But all I said was, when are you going to condemn the violent rhetoric of Chuck Schumer and Maxine Waters? And then he proceeded to block us. You know, Chuck Schumer said, "I want to tell you, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, you've released the whirlwind and you will pay the price. You won't know what hits you if you go forward with these awful decisions." Maxine Waters says, "Let's make sure we show up wherever we have to show up. And if you see anybody from that cabinet, the Trump cabinet, in a restaurant, department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. You push back on them. You tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere." That's terrible. And I'll say, I thought the ad was funny that he put out, that he tweeted about yesterday.
Yeah.
Should the guy have done that? No, because there's nuts on both sides.
Yeah.
There's crazy people that take that stuff seriously and think they're supposed to go out and hunt human beings with a shotgun.
Yeah.
But there's also people on his side and their side who take what Schumer and Waters say seriously and go out and harass people, cause scenes in restaurants.
Yeah. And like I was thinking about it, and like I really do try to see things from both sides. And you know, and the problem with America is the far left and the far right. And 80% of the country are normal, you know, and whoever you vote for, whoever, you know, whatever, it's fine. But, you know, he was talking about the party of violence. Well, I just started thinking about the Black Lives Matter protests and
riots.
You know, riots. Them putting up money to bail people out of jail for blowing up buildings and businesses and setting things on fire. And
well, that's all I was asking. He's never condemned, and that side's never condemned the BLM riots of 2020. Yeah. Never condemned the statements I just read, only Trump supporters and Second Amendment supporters. But I say all that to say, like, I texted him back and I said, "Dude, can you not take a little ribbon?" I mean, seriously, I was half being serious, half joking around, but whatever.
I will say this. Love Ryan. I love his wife. She makes awesome Oreo balls. And they have 2 of the funniest kids in the world. 2 of the funniest kids in the world. I always love seeing their post on them, but would love to sit down and talk to them. And that's the thing. I think that text messages and Twitter, it takes like the body language out of a conversation, and like people don't know if like you're being serious. Or yeah. And you know, listen. We could all definitely sit down and get along and watch a football game together, no doubt. But you know, he'll be back. I want to get him on the podcast. I'd love to have him on the podcast. Maybe when we need to get him on the podcast whenever the new Game of Thrones comes out.
We can get him on there, possibly, and if there's a
He's
movie
going to
or
be
something
he's
coming
going to
up.
be a fan of the show.
Yeah. I'm gonna be honest. I wasn't following him. He only popped up because you tweeted something to him, which I totally disagree with your comment that Transformers is better than Star Wars. And I know you're just trolling him, but that's factually incorrect. If you haven't watched it yet, if you're watching this, you haven't watched it yet, the new Obi-Wan series on Disney Plus, which I'm not a huge fan of Disney, fantastic show. It really dives into what Obi-Wan was up to between the end of episode 3 and episode 4. So I know you're curious about that.
What was he into?
He's just hanging out in a cave and he's working. He's working, honest, hardworking.
Yeah.
He's in the working class, but he's watching over Luke Skywalker. And not to spoil much of anything, but he has an encounter with Princess Leia. And I think they're like 10 at this point.
So Obi-Wan had an encounter with Princess Leia?
That's all I'll say. He has interactions with Princess Leia, like a 10-year-old Princess Leia. I've spoiled too much of the show already.
Is it like never mind?
No.
Okay.
It's nothing. It's very wholesome.
Oh. Okay.
No, Obi-Wan he's struggling mentally, physically.
Listen, with Disney, I don't know where that was going.
It is hard to tell.
Yeah, so
Obi-Wan is at a bad state. He's struggling mentally, physically, emotionally. He's in deep trouble. But I digress. So Tennessee baseball obviously over with. Have you watched any of the College World Series from Omaha?
I watched part of the I guess it was the Auburn game the other day. That's really it. I mean, I couldn't even tell you who. I have no idea who's left in.
There's 4. I just was watching a few minutes ago before we started recording. This is Tuesday night, first day of summer, longest day of the year. I was watching, I think it was Arkansas, Auburn are playing in an elimination game. And Arkansas, as of starting this recording, was up 8-0 on Auburn. Auburn's in deep trouble. It's an elimination game. So whoever loses leaves Omaha. Loser leaves town match. So that leaves there right now. There's 4 SEC teams left. There's Auburn, Arkansas, obviously, Ole Miss, Texas A&M. So
who do you want to win?
Not Arkansas.
No.
Not Auburn.
No.
Neither one of those.
I'll go Texas A&M.
I'm fine with either one of them.
Yeah. I'm okay with Ole Miss too because we dog walked them earlier in the season.
So Notre Dame was eliminated earlier today.
That was the game I watched, was Notre Dame.
So their first game they beat Texas 7-3, and then the next 2 games they proceeded after scoring all kinds of runs in Knoxville, just gobs of runs. Yeah. They scored 3 runs over the next. Let's see if I can pull up the bracket. I know they were in the bottom of the 8th. Texas A&M eliminated them. Let's see. Texas A&M, well, they've not updated it. So I know Notre Dame lost to Texas A&M, but Texas A&M will advance on to play Oklahoma, who's undefeated. So Texas A&M has to beat Oklahoma twice. They've already lost to Oklahoma 13-8. In the other bracket, you've got Ole Miss is in as the undefeated. And then Arkansas and Auburn are playing to see who goes on to play those two, or to play Ole Miss. Right now it's looking like Arkansas, still a lot of game time left in that one, but Arkansas or Auburn will have to beat Ole Miss twice to get to the title game. But the SEC is assured of at least one team in the national championship series that begins on Saturday, 6:00.
Yeah. Saturday,
Sunday, Monday. And I was thinking last night, I flipped over for a few minutes and Ole Miss was playing Arkansas, and Ole Miss beat Arkansas 13-5. how many Ole Miss fans were in that stadium, and it made me wonder how many Tennessee fans would be in Omaha right now if the Vols were playing. That's what makes me even more upset about it. The more that we get away from it, the more I think about it. It's like we had this on a golden platter, and we destroyed it.
Yeah. Man, I just tell you what, we really did have a golden opportunity to win it all. It sucks, but it's hard to do. It is hard to do. So kudos to teams that made it. We'll have an opportunity.
Well, they made a good point on the broadcast when I was watching last night and even tonight that you had the 1 seed Tennessee not make it to Omaha, the 3 seed Oregon State, the 4 seed Virginia Tech not make it to Omaha. All 3 of those teams made deep runs in their conference tournaments. And teams like Arkansas, Ole Miss, and Auburn left Hoover like after 1 day, maybe 2 days. I can't remember, but they were just there for like a day or two. Yeah. And got to go home and sit around all that weekend. And so they had like 7 or 8, 10 days of rest. Well, at least 7 more days than Tennessee and Virginia Tech and Oregon State had. And I don't know if that caught up to it. Shouldn't this time of year. I mean, these guys are conditioned. They play ball all the time. It shouldn't play a factor, but maybe it does. That's what they were talking about tonight. Maybe there's something to that.
Outside of the pitching, I mean, these guys are 20 years old. I mean, I know that they're playing weekend series. They're playing 1 game during the week. They're playing three game series on the weekend. It's not like the pros. They're playing every night. They're 20 years old. Like, I mean, I just don't buy into the.
Well, the only difference
in baseball is not as strenuous as, basketball.
No, that's why they play every day.
Yeah.
The only thing I could think of is the SEC tournament starts on Tuesday. Obviously, Tennessee didn't play till Thursday.
Right.
So they played Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They played 4 days in a row. They usually play Friday through Sunday. So they played 1 extra game that week and then came back and played on Thursday.
Yeah. Supposed to play on Wednesday, right?
No, I think they're always starting on Thursday. But I mean, they didn't play any different of a schedule. They played more games once they got into that regional than they normally. I mean, they still played 3 games. That's not a big deal. I don't know. There may be something to that. I think it's just those guys are sitting around talking because every game's been a blowout pretty much in Omaha. So they've got a lot of time to sit around and talk. But
right.
Maybe there's something to being winning the conference championships. I'm glad we won it. Don't get me wrong, but maybe let's not care about it from here on out as much now that we won.
I agree.
So. But it is nice to win it. I mean, it's a trophy to put up. It's the toughest conference in the country.
I mean, anytime you can win the SEC championship in anything, you do it.
Well, I saw somebody tweet it a while ago, and I remember this growing up. And I agreed with this tweet that back in the day, it was more important to win the SEC tournament or to win the SEC, the Southeastern Conference, than it was to win a national title. It was great to win a national title, but winning a national title was just icing on top of the cake if you won the SEC. I mean, Tennessee football won the SEC in 89 and 90, won it in 97, 98 in football, and that was a big deal back then.
Yeah.
Still is to me now, because you win the SEC, you're going to the playoffs. But in basketball and baseball, for some reason, it's not looked on as much because I think those are tournament sports, and that conference title, and we saw it this year with Tennessee, doesn't mean as much because it doesn't help your seeding. It doesn't really help you much.
The biggest problem is that people just get their hopes up. And it's just like in basketball. People were talking about, the deep run Final Four because we had Kennedy Chandler and all this other BS. It's the same thing in baseball, man. Like, you're sweeping SEC teams beating people by 7 runs, 8 runs, like really, they lost one series to Kentucky, but everybody else, man, like they were never like down in many of the games, So, we just thought, I said it on here, I don't see anybody beating Tennessee 2 out of 3 times in Knoxville. And I would go back and make that bet that Tennessee would be in Omaha 10 times out of 10. Because nobody beat us 2 out of 3 times the entire year. And we played, how many teams there in Omaha? We played
we beat Ole Miss. We beat Auburn. We swept Ole Miss, swept Auburn, lost to Texas, beat Oklahoma. Only played one game against those 2, but there was 4 teams we played out there that we beat. So,
right.
I don't think there was anybody else, but anyways, it just sucks. I've tried to watch it. It's just hard. I just can't. And the games haven't been good from what I've read. So it's been tough, but, so we're kind of in the off season mode of the podcast here. So UT football recruiting, coach rankings, win-loss, over-unders, all that stuff is good things to talk about. So we got that on this week's show. So Carnell Tate was a big wide receiver recruit that Tennessee was going after. He narrowed it down, whittled it down to Ohio State. Tennessee, I think everybody kind of knew that he was going to go to Ohio State. That's kind of his dream school. And he did, in fact, pick Ohio State on, that was yesterday, 1:00 on Monday. He picked Ohio State. So Tennessee lost out on 5-star guy. It would have been great to have him next year, not for this year. But they did get a commit on Sunday afternoon on Father's Day from Will Stallings Jr., a 3-star running back out of Las Vegas, plays for Bishop Gorman. They've been on TV quite a bit over the years, but 6 foot, 222 pounds, 3-star. He is the number 10 overall player in Nevada. They have him listed as linebacker for some reason, but he's a running back. Turned down offers from Arizona, Arizona State, Arkansas State, Butch Jones, Army, and a host of others. A lot of big schools on here, Colorado.
Yeah.
So nice pickup for Tennessee. Not a 5-star guy, but it's just another running back to go into the stable of horses that we've got. He's 222 pounds at 6 foot tall. He's not a tall guy by any means, short, stocky guy, powerful from what I've read. So we'll see how that one plays out, but comes from a good high school out there in Las Vegas, Bishop Gorman. And they did have him listed as a running back / linebacker.
Right.
He was at Western Kentucky's camp on May 2nd. They offered him. He was at Tennessee on June 1st. He was back, or Tennessee offered him on June 6th, just a couple weeks ago. He was at Texas A&M on the 17th for a camp, and then committed to Tennessee on the 19th. It was kind of a surprise from what I've read. So don't know what SEC Picks had to say about that on Twitter. All he was talking about was Tennessee not getting Carnell Tate. But looking at Tennessee's recruiting class for the 2023 class, they're currently ranked 14th nationally. Of course, the big name in that class is Nico Amaleva, I think is how you say it. I'm not real sure, but he's the 5-star quarterback. Caleb Herring is a big 4-star defensive end from Middle Tennessee, Riverdale High. 4-star tight end Ethan Davis, 4-star safety Sylvester Smith, 4-star athlete Trevor Duncan are the highlights of that class so far, but a long way to go. Early signing day is not till December, so got a lot of time left to recruit. But Tennessee's, I think, in pretty good shape. They need some linemen, linebackers.
Need some linebackers and corners and safeties.
Yeah, I think wide receiver, they're in pretty good shape, and running back as well. But little known fact, there's a kid in this class, 2023, Jack Luttrell, who is from Colquitt County, Georgia. And his dad was, for 3 seasons, while I was at Carter High School, the football coach of the Carter Hornets, Stan Luttrell, who was released from his duties my senior year and has been in Georgia ever since. But his son, kind of a freak athlete, they list him as a 3-star safety, 6 foot, 172. He committed last July after attending a camp at Tennessee. And actually, he had a video go viral. He made a spectacular one-handed catch in some drills they had going on over a defender. But he's coming in, so a little local, somewhat of a local connection
Nice.
in the Tennessee class. Even though he's from Georgia, his family's from this area, so that's pretty cool. But pretty good athlete. He can do a lot of different types of dunks, and so he's not going to play basketball for Rick Barnes, but just a good athlete. So we'll see where that goes.
Good.
So SEC coach rankings. I'll get your opinion on this. Let me pull these up. This was put out by on3.com. I found this the other day. 2022 SEC head coach rankings. Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, then who is the title of the article. Obviously, Nick Saban's got to be 1. Kirby Smart's got to be 2. Some could argue it could go flip the other way. I don't think so. Kirby's got to win 3 or 4 more titles before that happens. So this poll has Brian Kelly is 3, LSU's coach, Jimbo Fisher 4, Mark Stoops 5, Lane Kiffin at 6, Sam Pittman at 7 from Arkansas, Mississippi State's Mike Leach at 8, Tennessee's Josh Heupel at 9, Shane Beamer, South Carolina at 10, Billy Napier, Florida's head coach, first-year head coach at 11, Auburn's head coach Brian Harsin at 12, Missouri's Eli Dorkwitz at 13, and Vanderbilt's Clark Lee in his first season at 14. So I actually agree with this poll for the most part. I think I would flip Mike Leach and Josh Heupel at 8 and 9, but I wouldn't put Heupel any higher than that. I'm guessing one reason they have Leach above Heupel is he's had a little more long-term success. But and they said here in this poll, you could flip a coin between Heupel and Beamer. I think Heupel's been in the coaching industry as a head coach longer than Beamer. So he has a little bit more of a track record, although it's only 4 years. Beamer was just his first year last year, but I think it's pretty shot on. Do you have any gripes with where Josh Heupel is in that poll?
Yeah, I would flip him with Leach, just to be honest with you. I'm not a Mike Leach stan. I kind of almost think he's ignorant, to be honest with you. I'm so glad that UT did not.
He's weird. He's so weird.
Can you imagine losing to Florida and then having a guy up there talking about monkeys in the post-game press conference and how they mate and shit like that? Like, I
mean, I think he's a brilliant. I shouldn't say brilliant. He's a bright. He's a very smart offensive head coach. But I don't think he's ever going to be a guy that's going to go. I mean, he had a couple good years at Washington State, but that's in the Pac-12. He's never going to go 10-2 or 9-3. It's going to be your 6-7, 7-6, maybe 8-4 at the most.
I would flip Kelly and Texas A&M's coach
Jimbo.
Who was 5?
5 was Mark Stoops at Kentucky, and 6 was Lane Kiffin.
That's probably all right. I'd almost flip those 2 also.
I mean, Stoops, you got to think where Stoops is. Yeah. I mean, what he's done at Kentucky is actually, they've never had any success except for Bear Bryant and then some, like Hal Mummy had a year or 2 there that they were good. When Tim Couch was there for a year or so, they were good, but it's just been a cup of coffee and then they're gone. But
I'll allow
it. I mean, I guess you could say, oh gosh, who was the guy there? He was at Oregon and then he was the older guy. Can't remember his name, but he had some good teams there in the 2000s.
What I was kind of Auburn's coach. I kind of thought he was a little low, to be honest with you.
Well, yeah. I mean, they had him at 12. I probably would have put him ahead of Napier.
Yeah.
Maybe ahead of Beamer, but I wouldn't put him ahead of Heupel.
No.
I mean, he's not. He had a good team at Boise, but everybody's good at Boise State.
I don't get the Beamer love right now. I do think they are going to be better this year, but I'm just not. I don't know.
Rich Brooks was the coach at Kentucky in the 2000s who had a pretty good program. Then he turned it over to Joker Phillips, and he absolutely ran it into the ground. But yeah, I don't get the. I mean, I think Beamer. It says here he's a likable coach, and I guess that's true.
Well, so was Dooley.
I mean, Dooley was a likable guy, but I mean, let's just read his profile here. Beamer took over a program expected to win 3 games in 2021 and delivered a 7-6 season, capped off with a Mayo bath after beating North Carolina. Beamer's a good recruiter, excellent communicator. He's raised expectations in Columbia, which is good in the long term and the bad for 2022. He landed a number of impact players from the transfer portal to breathe life into a wheezing offense, including former 5-star quarterback from Oklahoma, Spencer Rattler. I mean, that's, I think, why people are in love with him right now is because he got Spencer Rattler to come in.
I ain't buying him either.
And I'm not, I mean, that guy was not great at Oklahoma, and it's pretty easy to be pretty good in Oklahoma's system.
Dude, Spencer Rattler, have you watched him on QB1 or whatever show?
I have not seen that season yet.
I mean, obviously kids grow up from high school to college, but man, like he's a spoiled brat. Like I think he's a cancer to a football team. He's just, I don't think he's coachable from what he showed in that show, which I understand, like it is what it is, but like he's not one to be coached. It's kind of like he knows it all. And I think that's why he left Oklahoma. So
yeah, well, and he lost his job there too, and
yeah,
I don't know. We'll see how it works out. Maybe he finds new life there. I don't know. I don't think South Carolina's got much around him, to be honest. They were pretty bad last year, especially early on. They got a little bit better as the season went on, but I mean, Tennessee just boat raced them in Knoxville in the first. I mean, Tennessee could have beat them a lot more than they did, and they literally just tanked. They just took a knee in the second half.
Yep.
Which I got a little concerned as we were walking out into Nick Bernard's wedding because they were back within like 3 touchdowns. And then we get out and Tennessee ended up winning the game. And they had scored another touchdown, but they just kind of turned the switch off and was resting some players. But I thought that ranking was pretty spot on. There's a couple little minor changes I might make, but Clark Lee at Vanderbilt, it says first sentence, unfortunately, someone has to be last.
Thanks, Clark.
Man, I mean, talk about a disaster and a dumpster fire he's inherited.
I understand it's SEC football, but I just think that if the guy, like going to Vanderbilt is a losing situation. Like, why not go to Louisiana Tech or, somewhere else?
I think the only reason he went there is because it's his alma mater. He was a fullback there, so
that is true. I forgot about that. But
they're probably going to give him a shorter leash because of that. So I mean, where we would give somebody 3 years, they might give him 5 or 6 because it's a long haul to bring that place back.
Yeah, I'd say. I mean, that's just who would want to go play football there too? Like, there's no pageantry. Like, Vanderbilt just sucks, man. Great school, great hospital. It's in Nashville, whatever. But like, I don't understand how their baseball team recruits as good as they do. Because I mean, you have to live there. Like, who in the world wants to go to Vanderbilt to go to school?
Well, they're just going there to, I mean, they get a good education. Vanderbilt's one of the best private schools in the country, and
Oh, I
it's very
know.
expensive, but I mean, Tim Corbin has built, I can understand why they go there for baseball, but anything else I can't understand.
Yeah.
Tim Corbin's, I mean, you're more than likely you're going to get a very good shot to go play professional baseball if you go there.
Right.
So let me see here. I lost my notes. Oh, yes. Vols win-loss over-under came out by Caesar Sportsbook. I believe it was just today. And they have Tennessee's over-under at 7.5 wins. I think I know your answer to this. I'll give you mine after yours, but is Tennessee over or under 7.5 wins this fall?
I'm gonna go over. I think I don't want to say worst case scenario. Let's say average case scenario. I think there'll be eight wins no matter what. I think best case scenario is 10 wins. I think that 9 wins is like a 60% chance.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to beat Florida. Florida is the cornerstone of the season. It's what you're going to hang your hat on. I mean, they need to be 4-0 going into the Florida game, and they need to beat Florida.
Barrett Salee of CBS Sports put this out. He picked Tennessee to go over 7.5 wins. Caesar Sportsbook has that at -145. So it sounds like it's pretty good odds. He had wins over Ball State, Pittsburgh, Akron, Florida, UT Martin, Kentucky, Missouri, and Vandy. And he had Tennessee's losses, which were 4 at LSU, Alabama, Georgia, and at South Carolina. In his analysis of the Vols, he said the Vols have a legit dark horse, Heisman Trophy candidate, and quarterback Hendon Hooker, a wide open offense that should operate faster than any other in the SEC and maybe the country. That will allow Josh Heupel's squad to dictate the style of most games. Styles make fights, which should send the Vols over the total. I mean, I think Tennessee's over 7.5 too. And we'll get into the schedule more as the summer and off season goes on, but it's like we said last week. I think Tennessee beats Ball State. I think they beat Pittsburgh, Akron, Missouri, and Vanderbilt. So that's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6 just right out of the gate. And then you got, I disagree with him on South Carolina. I mean, I'll have to look more into South Carolina. I guess he's picking that one because it's at South Carolina, but I think Tennessee has a good shot to beat South Carolina. That's 7 wins. I think Tennessee beats Florida and Kentucky. That's 9 right there. Now a lot could change, but I don't know that I see Tennessee beating LSU, Alabama, or Georgia. If LSU was at home, maybe.
Yeah.
I would pick LSU just simply because it's in Death Valley. But I don't know. I think Tennessee, the more I look at it, I don't want to get my hopes up too high. Because I think 7 wins is still not a bad season, depending on who you beat. But I think Tennessee really this year probably needs to win 8.
Yeah. They need to be 4-0.
Yes.
They need to be 4-0. I'm not worried about South Carolina. I'm more worried about Pitt than South Carolina. Just being honest with you. I'm more worried about Kentucky than South Carolina.
Only thing that worries me about South Carolina more than Pitt is South Carolina's later in the season, and a lot can change from we're talking about it here in June. We'll look at it again in August probably and make our picks for the season. And a lot can change from even August to late November. I mean, it's the weekend before Thanksgiving. That's the only thing that worries me about South Carolina is what will both teams look. I mean, they may be in rough shape, but they had Alabama, or Barrett has Alabama going over 11 wins, undefeated. He has Arkansas, their over under is 7. He has them going over. Auburn, their over under is 6. He has them going over. And a lot of these teams, I mean, you've got like 4 cupcakes right out of the gate. Like Auburn has Mercer, San Jose State, Western Kentucky. He does have them beating Penn State. That's interesting. Florida over under 7 wins. He has Florida going over, but with a loss to Tennessee.
Good.
Yeah. Georgia over under 11.5 wins. He has Georgia going over 11.5 with going undefeated. Kentucky, here's one. This is where I wish Gavin was here. He has the over under for Kentucky 8.5 wins. He has them going under, but losing to Tennessee. But he does have them beating Louisville, South Carolina, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, Miami, Ohio, Youngstown State, Northern Illinois. What a gauntlet. Jeez. LSU over under 7. He has them going under 7 with losses to Auburn, Florida, Ole Miss, Alabama, Arkansas, Texas A&M. Wins over Florida State, Southern, Mississippi State, New Mexico, Tennessee, UAB. So he's got them at 6 with Brian Kelly. Mississippi State over under 6.5. He has them under 6.5. Missouri over under 5. He has them going over 5. Has them beating Kentucky. Interesting. Ole Miss over under 7.5. He has them going over 7.5. There are only 2 losses. Alabama and Arkansas. He has them beating LSU, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, Kentucky, and Vanderbilt out of the SEC. South Carolina, we mentioned them over under 6. He has them going over 6. Texas A&M over under 8.5. He has them going under 8.5. Interesting. They're really getting their money's worth out of Jimbo. That's $75 million. He's got them losing to Arkansas, Alabama, South Carolina, and Ole Miss. And then Vanderbilt. This is the funny one. Over under 2.5 wins. 2.5. He has them going under 2.5 with wins. There are only 2 wins over Hawaii. At Hawaii, that's a nice trip. Yeah. And Elon. And has them losing to Wake Forest, at Northern Illinois, at Alabama, Ole Miss, Georgia, at Missouri, South Carolina, at Kentucky, Florida, and Tennessee. So that's the SEC in a nutshell. They obviously have Georgia and Alabama picked to meet in the SEC title game again, both going undefeated in the regular season. But I mean, you watch out for a team like Tennessee. Their schedule sets up, say what you will about how they've scheduled and how they're knocking off teams. But in this conference, you're going to play a gauntlet every week. So why go out and schedule a BYU and Nebraska and all them? Now, I still like them to play those, but I think Tennessee's got 6. Let's see, Ball State, Pitt, Akron, UT Martin, Missouri, and Vandy. They got 6 automatic wins, in my opinion, on this schedule. So they're bowl eligible, should be automatically bowl eligible, but then get a win over Florida, get a win over Kentucky. That's 8. And then maybe slip up and beat South Carolina and LSU. That's 9 or 10 just right there. So, and we'll talk about it later, but there's a lot of wins on this, possibly on this schedule for Tennessee. We'll see.
I agree.
I know you've been saying 9 or 10. I've been a little more conservative with it, but the more you look at
I like 10.
The more you look at it,
10.
The more you look at it, you see wins.
I just think our offense is going to be better than what they were last year. I think our defense is going to be better than what they were last year.
They can't be much worse on defense.
Man, if we just get off the field on 3rd down, we're going to be fine. I mean,
they got to force. I know they forced some turnovers. I don't know what their turnover margin was last year. They need to force more turnovers this year, and I think Josh Heupel said that, but that's something to talk about for another day. But yeah, I mean, there's some potential there for Tennessee this year.
Yeah.
Moving on from football very quickly, Tennessee basketball, it was announced late last week that they are getting a rematch with the Longhorns, but this year it'll be in Thompson Bowling Arena for the SEC Big 12 Challenge. So a big matchup. Texas should be good again next year. Tennessee obviously is going to be good again next year. So a big time matchup in Thompson Bowling. I think it's in late January next year.
Nice.
TBA will be rocking. Horns down. We may get fined or penalized for that one.
Who cares?
I don't care. It's like Ryan said, people were mocking me. I don't care. Horns down. I'm interested to see what Tennessee's basketball schedule looks like other than the Texas game. I know they're going to the Battle for Atlantis, which is a loaded field. See who's in that one real quick. But yeah, a Battle for Atlantis is this fall. And wow.
Can't tell you how it'll start, but I can tell you how it'll end.
That second round will get you, won't it?
Second round always sneaks up on old Rick.
I mean, I heard somebody say they wanted to know if Rick Barnes was that first weekend of the regionals. Tennessee fell behind to Campbell. They fell behind to Georgia Tech, and some guy ran and said, "Is Rick Barnes here?" Because it technically was the second round.
Okay, I want to address something. The whole Manning curse about whenever he comes back to UT sporting event and they lose, it's the dumbest thing in the world. I'm tired of hearing about it. There's not a single person that has done more for the state or for the university or even the state of Tennessee than Peyton Manning.
I mean, think about how much money he's given and
so
what a representative he is at the university.
Yes, there is not an athlete that's played any sport at the University of Tennessee that's been more of a role model, more of a just person of character. I mean, the guy's got 2 Super Bowls. I mean,
I think
we should be honored this guy wants to come back to our school and watch these games after we've sucked for 15 years.
I think the only other person that was either equal to him or better than that is Pat Summitt as a representative of the university.
Right.
So, I mean, those two are pretty even with me, but anybody else, I mean, there's a lot of good athletes out there that are good representatives of UT. Josh Richardson, Grant Williams.
Yes, they're great.
But Josh Dobbs, but they're not Peyton Manning. They don't have the resources Peyton Manning does, but they don't have the accomplishments he does either. They're all great representatives, but like you said, Peyton Manning, I mean, when you think of Peyton Manning, you think Tennessee, Indianapolis Colts, Denver Broncos.
And broken records. And
just, it's like, who was the quarterback that retired with the big beard the other day?
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Ryan Fitzpatrick said that he thought that Peyton Manning was probably the greatest quarterback to ever play. Now, that's up for debate. I mean, Brady's got more rings, a lot more wins.
He's had better teams, better defenses, better field goal kickers.
Bart Scott.
Better coaches.
And by the way, we got kind of sidetracked there, but Battle for Atlantis in basketball this year, loaded field, Butler, BYU, Dayton, Kansas, NC State, Southern California, Tennessee, and Wisconsin. So Tennessee, Wisconsin, Kansas, USC, all fantastic programs. Dayton is a good mid-major. Butler hasn't been very good lately. BYU's been all right. But back to Peyton Manning. I'm pretty sure, here it is. Bart Scott on why he preferred to face Tom Brady over Peyton Manning. He says that he would much rather face Tom Brady than Peyton Manning. He's a retired linebacker for the Jets, so he obviously played both of these guys a lot, being in the AFC. He said, quote, "I'd rather go against Tom Brady every day of the week. I believe that's how everybody feels. I lost as a 1 seed to Peyton Manning with the Baltimore Ravens. Peyton Manning gives you a different set of anxiety. With Tom Brady, it was more about Bill Belichick and the entire team, the execution, and them having a great game plan. But something in the first quarter meant something totally different in the second." I think it's just how Peyton Manning prepared and how he broke down defenses. I don't know if you've ever seen this video. It was really cool. It was Peyton Manning against, who was the great linebacker for Baltimore Ravens that retired recently? Ed Reed.
Ed Reed.
And he was probably like Peyton Manning, except on the defensive side of the football. And he actually tricked Peyton Manning. If you haven't ever seen this, I'll try to find it and post it on our Twitter and Facebook. But he actually duped Peyton Manning in a game because he had watched on film that in a certain formation, Peyton is going to look this way and go back the other way. And Ed Reed recognized this and acted like he thought Peyton was going to go that way and went the other way. And basically, Peyton threw the ball and was like shocked that Ed Reed was standing there waiting to intercept the football because he had duped Peyton Manning. But I thought that was a really cool thing. But that's just how Peyton Manning was always a step ahead. It just stunk because his teams weren't as good as the Patriots, and his head coaches weren't as good as Bill Belichick. And they had some crappy luck along the way with, like you said, kickers, things like that. But I mean, Peyton Manning, 3-time MVP, 2-time Super Bowl champion, multiple passing records that have since been broken, and more will always be broken as this league continues to evolve into more of a passing game than a running game. But
you got to think though too. Peyton Manning had Edgerrin James behind him at Indianapolis,
and Marshall Faulk,
and he still had those passing records.
Yeah. And think how much money he made Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison and Brandon Stokely. Brandon Stokely. I was looking at. Have you ever looked at Peyton Manning's collegiate stats? They're not.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, if you look at them, they're not as good as a lot of these guys now. But think about how good he was in college. He threw for 11,201 yards, 89 touchdowns, and 33 interceptions.
Yeah.
Had a completion percentage of 62.5%. And I know there's been guys pass him as far as some of these records. I'm trying to look them up very quickly because I looked this up a while ago. So passing yards leader, he's 5th with 11,000. I think at one point he was in first, but
yeah,
Aaron Murray is in first from Georgia with 13,166. Drew Lock is in second from Missouri, 12,193 yards. David Green from Georgia, 11,528 passing yards. Chris Leak from Florida, 11,213. So he had 12 more yards passing than Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning was just in front of Eric Zier with 11,153. Danny Werfel, who threw the football a ton, only had 10,875. I say only.
Right.
Jared Lorenzen comes in at 9th with 10,354 yards passing, and Peyton's brother Eli Manning in 9th with 10,119. Here's an interesting one at 10. Casey Clausen.
Nice.
9,707 passing yards for Tennessee. There's no other Tennessee quarterback in the top 20. You've got Eric Ainge at 21 with 8,700 yards exactly. Tyler Bray's in 40th, 7,444 yards. Joshua Dobbs in 47th with 7,138 yards. So interesting. Did not realize Casey Clausen was 10th all time in the SEC in passing yardage.
Yeah, yes, man.
He was good. What about the Cubs? 2 out of 3 against Atlanta last weekend at Wrigley.
Yeah, man. The Braves just looking to a opponent that they will actually see in the postseason. So they really didn't.
They just took it easy.
It's just kind of like we were talking about the SEC tournament, how it kind of really didn't matter.
Yeah.
Look to teams that are actually going to be playing in October. So
at least the Cubs did break the Braves' 13 game winning streak.
What was it? 14 games?
I think it was 14. Yes.
14, 15, something like that.
I believe it was 14.
I'll tell you what, man. That's hard to do now. I mean, 10 games. Most teams don't win 10 games in a row anymore.
And the crazy thing is, and I'm looking up the standings right now, the Braves won 14 in a row. And of course, they lost 2 out of 3 at Wrigley this past weekend. They're still 5.5 out of first.
Yeah, the Mets are playing really good right now.
Yeah, they're 5.5 out of first. Which, I mean, you win 14 in a row. That just tells you how far behind they were there. But the Mets are 45-24. So
yeah,
but a long way to go. The Braves still got.
Well, the thing about it is we're going to play the Mets 4 more times this year, I guess.
And the Cubs, poor Cubs, 25-43. So they took 2 out of 3 from Atlanta. They lost on Sunday, I think 6-3. And then went on the road to Pittsburgh, where we'll be in September, PNC Park.
Yes.
And they got destroyed 12-1, and then they lost tonight 7-1. So off to a blistering start on the road.
There you go.
Don't have any money. They're just penny pinching. Sad.
Yep.
You know, they've built this, they've got all these restaurants and shops and all this other stuff around the state, but they don't have any money for some reason.
No.
Just weird. Gavin's not here this week. We don't know where he's at. He's MIA. I'm going to call 911 after the show's over and put out an Amber Alert. He has yet to respond to a text. Where do you think he is?
I heard through the grapevine that he was soaking up the last few days of Pride Month.
That's probably true. Different
restaurants having specials, bars and stuff. He was trying to go support.
Yeah, I understand. Well, we'll let him off for that, I guess.
Yeah.
We're diverse. We're diversity.
Yeah.
Diversity today here on Section YY8 podcast. Gavin plays for the Knox Cox softball team. They're still alive. They play Long Shafts tomorrow night in the losers bracket. So they could play 2 games tomorrow night and then possibly 3 on Thursday night. So Gavin's going to be wore out if they have to play all these games by the end of the week.
Wore out from the Long Shaft.
Yep. The Long Shafts wore him out, but
wow.
Good luck to the Cox this week. I will hopefully be in attendance at one of their games later this week, probably tomorrow night. So if you're listening to this, it's Wednesday, I might be at their game. So
good.
That's all I got. You got anything before we close this baby out?
No, just ready for football season now. Nothing, baseball's going to get me through the last couple of months here. Carter Youth football, getting ready to rock and roll. Big Griff's ready to go out there and bust some heads open. So
nice. Back for another season.
Bobby Stanton's coaching him this year. Shout out to Brett, longtime listener of the show, his father. I'm excited about that. So
should be good. We'll see how the baby Green Hornets do this fall.
If we don't beat you in the field, we'll beat you in the parking lot. That's all I got to say about it.
I heard that.
Dang right.
Wouldn't be the first time.
That's
right. Yeah, so I'll be in Spartanburg, South Carolina this weekend. So if you're listening from the Sparkle City, I'll be there. Probably won't be out in public any, but I will be there.
He'll be gone, so go rob his house.
Yeah, I won't be here, so just break into my house. No one in my neighborhood would probably notice anyway. So
I'll be on vacation too, but I'll have someone at my house watching it. So
we not sure if we'll be back on next week or not. Big Montana's going to be out of town. I got to get Day Ball back on here. He's pulling a Gavin.
He really is
sad.
Yeah, I don't know. He's probably feeling some guilt over taking his kids to that abomination out there in California.
I'd say so. I would too.
What those children had to see out there.
Sad. So sad. I'm gonna maybe try to work on some special guests to get on here at some point.
Let's talk about Biden's bicycle incident.
Oh yes, I have it on here. I totally forgot it.
Yes.
What about Biden falling off of his bicycle on Saturday?
Listen, dude, here's the thing. I'm 33 years old. Still semi-limber, athletic, whatever you want to call it. My ass is not getting on the bicycle. He does not need to be a bicycle. know your limitations. Like, I'm never going to go skydiving or bungee jumping, and I'm, not going to be on a balance beam anytime soon. This guy can barely walk. Why is he on a bicycle? And it was like a photo op. Like, he wasn't just, this guy doesn't bicycle.
He
Give me a break.
He does ride every now and then, but I'm with you. Like, is this becoming a joke at this point? How they prop him up. And my big thing with the whole thing is when Trump was in office, I saw this last night, and I've read a lot about it, but when Trump was in office, when President Trump was the leader of the free world, they constantly wanted to talk about his health. All the time they would have to pull his doctor out there to do interviews because he ate too much fast food. He had a little high cholesterol, high blood pressure.
Who cares?
Think about how much they talked about him when he was at West Point in 2020, and it had been raining, and he had dress shoes on, and you know how slick those are, and he's like tiptoeing down the ramp. And then when he was drinking water, if you're watching on video, he went. He held it with one hand and had his hand cupped under the bottom, and it looked really weird. You're like, what is he doing? But there were people questioning his health, wanting to talk about, should we invoke the 25th Amendment? Are you serious? And they don't ever say anything about Biden. How many times has the guy fallen upstairs?
I saw a tweet. I saw a tweet the other day. It was like, I miss the simpler time when Luke Combs won $100 off a scratch-off ticket and could buy 2 12-packs and a tank of gas with it.
It was I saw that one. That was great. But think about how many times the last time he fell up the stairs, his press secretary tried to blow it off. Said, well, it's awfully windy out here. I had trouble walking up the stairs. We just can't keep up with him. I mean, if you can't keep up with that old fart, then you've got health problems. And then he was at the beach yesterday and barking at reporters because one of them asked him if he was going to meet with oil executives like he did retail executives, like he did the travel industry. And he's like, no, why would I do that? Why would I meet with them? You're starting to sound like a Republican. It's a joke. I'm looking at the national AAA national gap average of a gallon of gasoline, $4.96. I actually come down in Knoxville.
Yeah, I actually have some stats on the gas if you listen to them.
Yeah, go ahead.
Why they are.
Indulge us.
January 20th, 2021, Biden inaugurated. Cancels Keystone XL, January 27th, 2021. Biden halts new oil and gas leases, February 2021. Increases cost of carbon from Trump era, $1 per ton, up to $51 per ton, February 19th, 2020. Biden rejoins the Paris Climate Agreement, May 7th, 2021. Biden takes 30% of land off limits to oil and gas, June 1st, 2021. Biden halts drilling in ANWR, June 30th, 2021. Congress reverses Trump natural gas regulations, October 7th, 2021. Biden reverses Trump NEPA regulations, October 29th, 2021. Interior begins social cost of carbon, November 15th, 2021. Moratorium on oil drilling in Chaco Canyon, March 1st, 2022. Biden releases oil from SPR again, March 21st, 2022. SEC proposes anti-oil rule, May 12th, 2022.
Damn you, Greg Sankey.
Biden cancels remaining lease sales. So when you're filling up the pump, it's not because of Ukraine and Russia, it's because of Biden.
Yeah, and a lot of people say presidents don't control gas prices. They don't, but their policies do. And their policies are directly affecting what you're paying at the pump, which is affecting what you pay for everything else. I get it. They want to move to carbon-free modes of transportation. I get it. And that's great if you can make things that work and run properly. That's awesome. I'm glad you want to do that. But that's not happening right now. I mean, that's probably 10, 15, 20 years away from being mainstream. You can't do that right now.
Whenever the leader of all electric vehicles, Elon Musk, says that the United States isn't ready yet, they're not ready.
They're not ready.
This guy only has everything to gain from everybody going electric. And he's saying it's not a good idea.
And Biden's moronic Treasury Secretary comes out the other day and says there's really not much else we can do about gas prices. This is the problem with this administration. They act like there's nothing they can do about these problems, but the problems are what they created themselves.
Right.
And then they throw their hands up and act like they fixed a problem, like the unemployment rate. That was their fault that the unemployment rate fell so low. And now they've got all these jobs back. Look what we did. We fixed it. No, you didn't. You didn't do anything. Their policies have directly affected. They've cut the supply so low that prices are so high right now. But now he's going to Venezuela, Saudi Arabia, Iran, and other dictatorships wanting to get oil when we can make it right here in the United States. It just does not make any sense to me at all. And I wanted to read you this tweet. Man, I was in an arguing mood yesterday and this morning. Good. Let me pull it up real quick. So this guy is an assistant professor of sociology at UT. And you may have seen, I didn't go back and forth with him because some of us we have to go to work, right?
Yeah.
I'm not a assistant professor of sociology.
Sure.
He tweeted yesterday, quote, NASCAR needs to be temporarily shut down given the gas shortage we're currently experiencing. Seriously? So here's some of the replies to this guy. Biden fuel policy have increased the quality of NASCAR. Why aren't more on the right mentioning this? NASCAR's fuel, this is one I liked. NASCAR's fuel usage is unrelated to the gas problem in America. They don't even use normal fuel.
Yeah.
They use bioethanol.
Right.
This article states, quote, it's a specialty product made in small batches. It blows my mind reading some of these people. They actually say that President Biden has made, and he may have, I don't know enough about that point to say that he has made fuel more efficient, his policies. I don't know that, so I'm not going to comment on it. But I responded to him and said, one of UT's finest, weighing in on something he has no idea about it. And he said, quote, we need to shut it down, bub. That's like, as Dr. Eric Nease said, that's like pissing on a forest fire thinking you're going to put it out.
Yeah. Here's my thing, Nease. This is the way we all should think. If you don't agree with our opinions, then you're dumb.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. Like,
we might like, I mean, you're just wrong.
Sorry.
We're right. You're wrong. Get over
it. Hey, facts are on our side.
I'm on the right side. I'm on the right side. I don't know about them, but I'm on the right side.
You know, $2 gas, 3% interest rates.
Remember,
man, this 8 to 9% inflation we got going on right now too. I have no idea how anybody can, without cracking a smile, say that they still voted for Joe Biden.
I say this a lot, and I've tweeted this before. I would really like to sit down with people like Ryan.
Yeah.
People that voted, because I know they voted for Biden, and sit down with them now and like, is this really what you wanted? I mean, seriously, any Biden voter. Yeah. And that includes some in my own family.
Yes.
And I would say, is this really what you wanted?
Like, you can't, like, the average person can't buy a house right now. Like,
it's not even buying a house. It's getting to work and back and putting food on the table. I know we've got people that work for us that don't make much money. And I wonder right now how they're able to get by day to day, because I know what they make
I mean,
And I know what things cost right now.
even like everybody wants to say stuff. Well, Target's paying $19 an hour. McDonald's is paying. Well, shit, they have to. People would starve if they didn't.
I mean, they have to because they can't find anybody to work for less
They
than
have
that.
to, man. Like, I mean,
It's
hell,
just totally.
if you drive a Honda Accord, it's going to cost you $70 to fill the dang thing up.
This place is totally backwards right now. It's unbelievable. I mean, I remember when minimum wage was $9.25.
Yeah,
I mean,
$7.25.
I'm sorry. There's some people that's not worth $15 an hour. I hate to be mean,
I mean,
and they're not worth it.
That's the other problem.
And there's a lot of people that make more money than I do, probably make more money than you do, that are out busting their tails, and they have no. I went to college. I have a college degree, and these people probably don't. I know several of them. They're great people. They work hard every day. They make a lot more money than I do. Hats off to them. They busted their butts, and they deserve it. But there's some people that, one, don't deserve it, and two, aren't worth that. But this administration and that side thinks that everybody should be paid the same. I mean, it's the same thing that's going on with the women's soccer right now. Yeah. And this ties back into sports. They're going to get equal pay as the men's. They can't even beat a 15-year-old boys team. Yeah. Well, and I know they're a big draw and everything, but they are not. Sorry if this offends anybody, but women are not as good at sports as men. Right. And they don't draw the attention that men do. My sister, she's a RN, and her hourly pay is like $26 an hour, which is great. But like, she's like, you can go work at Target and make $20 an hour and not have any skill set, and have less stress. Have way less stress, not take the risk of getting sick like she's doing, not have the, she doesn't have student loans, but a lot of her co-workers do. They got 50 grand in student loans they're going to pay off. Why go to college? Go to Target. It's a mess right now. I hope that the red wave comes in November. Red tsunami sets us back on the path, and in the big election in 24 to put the. Do you think Trump's going to run? I think he will. But I think I think DeSantis, I would be okay with DeSantis. I mean, the only thing that bothers me about Trump is his age, and he's and like I would part of me would almost rather DeSantis run just because he's younger, and so many people hate Trump already, and I think it would just kind of, I don't know, shut them up, like get past all that crap. Like, I mean, I obviously would like Trump to run again just for financial purposes, but I think DeSantis would do a good job. I do hope if Trump if Trump does run, DeSantis is going to run too. So it's going to be a battle royale between those two. They're both going to run. And if Trump gets the nomination, DeSantis probably, I think, should run with him. Right. I don't know that it would go the other way around if DeSantis won. Trump's obviously not going to be his vice president, but I'm good with either one of those guys. I like Mike Pence as a man, as a person, but I don't want him as president. He's just a wet fart. And has nothing to do with January 6th. And there was some voter fraud going on, but sometimes I wish Trump would tone that down just a little bit. The rhetoric. He's probably going to call me a rhino, but I think there were things that went on in that election. There was some fishy stuff that went on, and I don't think the election was legitimate. I'll go to the grave with that. I cannot wait till it comes out like COVID was an inside job. Oh, it's going to. You're just a conspiracy theorist. I really am, and I'm serious. I think this whole thing was funded and planned out, and I think they made it a little bit worse than what it was supposed to be. But You want to hear a wild one that people are probably going to think that I'm a little out there on?
Let's hear it, Nease. I love it.
Now, I know people died, but I think a lot of this gun violence is planned and funded by the left, by outside sources.
Yeah, maybe. Listen,
I'm not saying they're directly doing it, but I think there's some things going on that make you think, like, why does this stuff happen, and why do they only pick some of the stories to talk about? They never talk about Chicago. I'm wearing Cub stuff. I love the Cubs. I love the north side of town. I love Wrigleyville. But on the south side of town, they're slaughtering each other in droves every weekend with gun violence. Where's the outrage? You don't hear anything about it. And the Beetlejuice mayor doesn't do anything about it.
I was listening to something the other day. I was talking about the COVID vaccine. About there's like, it's not really a COVID vaccine. It's the vaccine for the next thing that comes out. And whoever doesn't have the vaccine is going to die because they're not sheep. But the ones who did get the vaccine will live because they listened to the man and went ahead and took proper precautions for it.
I'll say this: I got 2 shots back last fall. I will not get any more. I will not get any more. I actually kind of regret it, to be honest.
Good.
Because I've had it since then. And I'm like, why did I put myself through crap for 2 days to just get it again? So I will not get, and I get a flu shot every year. I will not get a COVID shot anymore. I promise you. You mark it down.
The only thing that I have in my body is a little bit of McDonald's,
some Copenhagen,
little Copenhagen, and the Holy Spirit.
Hey,
that's all I need.
Yes.
Saved by grace. Just tomorrow's a mystery. It's not promised. Let's all just quit being scared of our shadows and get out there and live. Take a mask off.
And quit
go
being
outside.
And quit being scared of tweets. And
tweets,
like you said, I said this last week, if you don't love the Lord, the volunteers, and guns and low prices, then don't listen to this show. And obviously people aren't. So
we're
whatever.
Freedom fighters.
Whatever.
True patriots.
Appreciate everybody listening to the show. We got way off the rails there from UT sports and sports in general, but who cares? It's my show. It's our show. We do what we want. Shout out again to Aunt Helma's Restaurant for sponsoring the show this week. Great place. I'm working on more sponsors.
Tackle Box is next.
I stopped by Tackle Box yesterday and Cardin's last week. So working on them. Hopefully get Lightnings on board too. But shout out to Aunt Helma's. If you're ever in the 4-Way In area, Strawberry Plains, stop by and see the world famous Aunt Helma's sign right across from the Moto Now or whatever that gas station's turned into. God, I don't know what it is. Appreciate everybody listening. Again, you can find us on video version of the podcast on YouTube. Audio version, if you're traveling over the next couple of weeks, you can listen to any show from the past year plus on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Listen Notes. Just Google or search whatever search engine you use. Type in section YY8 podcast. We're on Twitter. Follow us on there. Unless you don't like what we have to say, then you can block us, or you can follow us on Facebook, which we don't post much on there, but we're there. So not sure if we'll be back next week, but good luck to the Knox Cox the rest of the week. And softball, Braves are in action to get us through the doldrums of summer, the dog days of summer. Cubs suck, but we don't know when we'll be back next. Hopefully it'll be next week. If not, we'll see you next time here on the Section YY8 podcast.